Hey everyone, welcome back to When Creatives Thrive, a BOPA podcast. I'm Stuart Rustin, the multimedia manager at BOPA, and on this episode, we feature Jaz Erenberg, a Baltimore-based public artist, community organizer, advocate for creative expression and social justice. As a muralist and visual storyteller, Jaz's work focuses on the intersection of art and activism, with a deep commitment to creating public art that reflects and celebrates the diversity, resilience, and history of the communities she serves. Jaz recounts stories of support from her family at a young age that empowered her to draw outside the lines and pursue a career as a working artist. Her experiences led to co-founding Baltimore's Brush Mural Festival, which aims to connect local artists and residents through collaborative, large-scale mural projects. Jaz also discusses her role as the chair of Baltimore's Public Art Commission. The PAC is a citizen review board charged with administering Baltimore's 1% for Public Art program, as well as reviewing permanent gifts of public art to the city. As she serves, Jaz guides initiatives that shape the city's artistic landscape while fostering an environment of collaboration and inclusivity. Hey Jaz, welcome to When Creatives Thrive.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
First, I wanted to start with talking about your experience as an artist. I know you are a MICA grad, you've got a sculpture and printmaking background, you have some teaching experience, but it seems like recently you found a passion or a focus for mural making. And I was wondering, how did you get into murals and what is it about them that keeps you coming back?
Yeah, so I think my muraling experience, how I got into it is very different, but I think conceptually it was a very natural progression. So while I was teaching in college still, I got picked up by Michael Owen, who's a very well-known Baltimore muralist. He produced the Love Project murals, so all those outlined hands that spell the word love. Yeah. And so he had an artist residency called Home Artist Residency based in Highlandtown, and he saw my work online and asked to meet. And oddly enough, it's like maybe 2016, 2017, but this is the first time I've met somebody like in person from online.
Oh.
So I was a little bit nervous.
Really?
I was. Not like, but I was not done with all of my credits yet. I was working, I was going to college, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere online, somebody's like, hey, maybe I'll pay you money to be a professional artist. I was like, what?
A little too good to be true, maybe?
Yeah. And then I met him, and he's an amazing person. And it was not too good to be true because it was true.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So he hooked me up for his artist residency, and the goal for all of the projects and artists that he ran through that program was to produce a mural. Like you had mentioned earlier, I studied printmaking and sculpture, and if you had known me when I went to MICA, you would know that I hated painting. It was the class I dreaded the most. I waited like to the last second to have to take those courses. And I just I didn't connect with it the same way I do now. But in that moment, hating painting and then being offered an opportunity to get paid as a professional artist to do a massive painting, I was like, well, you know what? I'm gonna say yes and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, that's a great kind of mindset to have, right? It's just sort of roll with it and see what you can take from it.
I think so.
What was it, though, about the painting classes or the challenge of painting during college that you resisted?
I think, the still lifes and stuff, fine. That was fine. The shadows, the lights, I can do that. It was when we had to do, portraits that every face I did, something was off. Yeah, but for some reason, I don't know, the nose would be off, and I would try and fix it and keep working at it, and then something else would be wonky, and so it just felt like I couldn't find my footing in it.
What is it though that inspires you about making these murals now? When you're making murals, do you find yourself encountering any kind of reoccurring motifs, or what's your normal kind of inspiration when you go into a project?
Well, my favorite types of projects are community-centered. So for me and my process, that means that I walk into those partnerships intentionally without an idea of what I want to do. And I do that so that I can be a blank slate and really be like a true conduit for the community's stories. So a lot of my actual like ahead of time process is building workshops, doing listening sessions, building surveys, and sort of collecting that data in a multitude of ways so that I can then like use that data as my inspiration to design. Now, that being said, yes, there are a lot of things that show up in my work. Number one being it will be very bright and colorful. Number two, there's probably going to be plants in it. And I think number three, there might be some hands in it. And hands has been actually the way that I figured out how to represent people in community and like humans in my work without having to deal with painting faces.
Look at that. Look at that. You cracked the code.
Exactly.
That's funny.
Well, and I think also Baltimore has like incredible portrait artists and incredible muralists that specialize in portraits. And so there was no way I was going to compete with that.
But I also like that too, because it's true. Like, you don't have to be perfect at everything, right? Like, and I also think that that's awesome that you haven't been weighed down by that either, that it hasn't been like a block for you to continue forward. It was just, you found what works for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think like any practice is really based on like what is accessible to you in that moment. And painting faces hasn't been accessible to me, and that's okay.
Maybe not yet, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not yet. Who knows? I read an article recently where you were featured and you were talking about this ability that you had even from a young age to process the world in a visual way. But what exactly does that mean? And when your parents saw that in you, like, how do you foster something like that as well?
So when I was, I think, in kindergarten, my mom got called in for pickup. I mean, like, it was like regular pickup time, but she got called in to talk to the teacher. And they had a conversation about like how I was refusing to color inside the lines. And I feel like it's like so cliche, but at the same time, like you're gonna really make like a 5-year-old in trouble because her cat is pink and has wings. Like, you know what I mean?
Is that what it was?
No, but I mean, I don't remember, but you know, like,
it's a cool cat.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I remember looking back, and my mom collects everything. She won't get rid of anything, which, you know, maybe that'll be valuable one day. But looking back at all the coloring books and pages that I colored in as a younger child, lines didn't exist for me. They were suggestions. And so I think that conversation with that teacher really like solidified to my parents that I needed less boundaries and more space to create. And so they sort of built that into my life by getting a sketchbook, by making sure I always had one. There was always, you know, pens and a sketchbook in the car or in my backpack or, you know, just everywhere. And I think also I was very lucky to have parents who noticed at such a young age that impulse to draw things and realized that I was sort of processing the world through drawing before I could read, and adding to that just like every extracurricular art that I could do, that I wanted to do, they put me in. So that was really great. I think like art is one of those things where if you're lucky enough to know that that is just who you are at such a young age, it's really important to foster it because it's also a light that can be put out really easily.
So easily. Kudos to your parents. It sounds like coloring outside the lines has done a lot for you.
A lot, yeah.
I also read that you painted your first house at the age of 13. How did that come about? It was just incredible to me to read that. I mean, 13 is pretty young.
Yeah, and I honestly, I didn't even have a concept of like what a mural was. Obviously, they existed, and you know, I just like it wasn't part of my understanding and my like world of art at 13. I was like, oh, you can be, you know, a gallery painter, right? But this concept of just like painting any surface was like very new to me, and I was again just really lucky to have supportive people. I spent a summer at my uncle's house, and they were like, cool, what art projects are we doing? And I was like, maybe I could paint this. And I started like small, right? I was like, maybe we can get a canvas. We'll go to the art store. We'll get some canvases. And it was really my uncle who was like, what about the back of the front door? Right? And like, and really like opened my eyes to like, paint can go on anything, right? I mean, I know it's not like really groundbreaking now, but then for 13-year-old me that was still stuck on canvases and sort of this box that the perfect artist is supposed to, embody. And so my uncle really sort of just like broke that open and was like, no, paint this. And so we painted their windows. We painted their window frames. We took down the windows. It was a whole thing. Again, it was a whole month. And I basically painted every surface I can. I think it was every door in that house, all the window frames. Yeah, it was a lot.
There's an energy there. Like there's an excitement, I think, when you realize, oh yeah, paint can go anywhere I want it to go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know you recently gained a lot of social media attention because you painted your own row home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that the experience that you had with your uncle at an early age was in some way related to that?
Yeah, must be. I think I can definitely follow the train of thought and the connections. Yeah, I don't know. In my mind, they're separate, but I definitely think there's a connecting thread. I think more so it shaped how I think about scale, how I design for scale, and that sort of skill. My row home I painted, I think about 3 years ago now, and that was towards the beginning of my career. And honestly, it came out because like a bunch of projects fell through that summer, and I was feeling pretty low.
Ugh, that's the worst.
Yeah, I mean, but it happens, right? It's freelance life. But so in order to keep busy and stay inspired and, keep those juices flowing, I decided, well, I didn't decide. Honestly, my husband convinced me to paint the front. We painted the back, like a lot of the house is painted, as you can imagine, if a muralist lives there. But I was always sort of scared to paint the front. I don't know if it was just like I don't know, resale value or like, what will the neighbors think? But I think once we decided to do it, it was like, why did we wait so long?
There's such a boldness and a uniqueness to the way that house stands out against its neighbors. Kind of would be awesome to think about a world where we all painted the outsides of our houses.
Yeah. No, I definitely, I would love to see that. That was definitely a little secret dream we had for our block. Alas, nobody's commissioned me to paint any of their facades on that block, but I have done a couple since. None full coverage like mine is, which I think it takes a certain type of personality to be like, hell yeah.
It does. It kind of almost reminds me of those people who commit to like a small tattoo as opposed to like get a sleeve.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like you really have to
Yeah,
be down.
That's such a good analogy.
So you mentioned earlier that a lot of your work happens in a public space where you're listening to communities and acting as a conduit to try to like embody them and in a visual sort of way, leave your mark and beautify a space. Have you always been comfortable working in such a public-facing kind of way?
No, definitely not. But I do think being a teacher really helped me understand what it takes to manage, creative exploration in a collaborative way with like a lot of personalities in the room.
I was even thinking too, like, what it must feel like to kind of be observed, right? Like anybody walking down the street or, driving in their car or hanging out on the bus who's like, wait a second, what's going on over there?
Yeah.
And then they can just come up and approach you. Like, does that happen?
Yeah. Oh my God. All the time. It's my favorite part of what I do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think that's one of the most special things about working in public. It's like accessibility on a level of like, yeah, the work is public, the art is for the public, but when you get to see a mural going up, and I think this is something that artists don't really fully process or understand. I feel like this had to be explained to me even. But when people see like the magic of a mural going up, right? Like you drive around the city all the time and you're like, oh, that's a new mural, right? But maybe you didn't catch when it went up. So when you find yourself in that magical moment of like, oh my God, an artist is actually painting this mural right now.
Yeah. People
just want to connect with you, but they have no idea how, because they're so in awe of like really watching this magic happen. And to us, it's not magic, right? It's a lot of sweat. It's a lot of tears. We're up on lifts. It's raining. There's a lot happening, right? It's definitely not magic. But to the people seeing it, like, we still have to understand that they're experiencing something super special.
Yeah.
It's important to me. The whole accessibility part in general, working in public, like that shift was really, really natural for me. But I also think like even when I was in undergrad, I studied sculpture because it was the closest I could get to a medium that could help me work in public spaces. And so I knew from that sort of undergrad level that I really didn't want to be making work for galleries.
That seems to me like what the maybe root of a community artist is about, right?
Well, I mean, just like humans come in many different forms, so do artists. It's definitely the way I've sort of anchored my practice in those beliefs, and I think also that teacher part of me will never leave. That educational aspect, I think, is also really important. So even if you do have a dumb question, like, I'll answer it.
Yeah. Well, bless you. Of those kinds of personal experiences that you've had with commuters or people stopping by, are there any kind of especially memorable kind of experiences that you've had?
I think I especially am touched when like a teenager will come and like, you know how teenagers are. So they're like, I really want to ask questions and I really want to be into this, but I'm like way too cool. So I love when they get past that and they're like, no, I'm going to go talk to her. Yeah. And then you see like, they're like, oh my God, I'm experiencing like a professional artist doing potentially what like I might want to be doing. And you can really see like it's crazy to be inspiring in the moment. It's also like I feel like a lot to carry at the same time. Right? Like I also have to be really, and not that I'm not, but like it just comes with like, okay, if being a public artist makes you more of a public figure just because of the nature of your work, right? Like it sort of bleeds into the rest of your life.
Right. Do you have any kind of responsibilities that coincide with your work as an artist that are maybe bigger than yourself?
Yes, I definitely think so. I think I've stretched my practice to include sort of leadership and advocacy for the artist community. I think as chair of the Public Art Commission, I wear that hat, and also as founder and co-executive director of the Mural Festival, Mural Fest. I think those sort of leadership hats are now part of my practice, and now knowing that, you know, I serve in those capacities in a public way, and we are really sort of steeped in education and bringing up sort of the next evolution or generation of muralists through the festival. I definitely do feel some responsibility sort of on the leadership end to advocate for, you know, potentially ways that the city can work better with public artists, or, you know, situations like that where artists are looking to me for guidance in how they move.
I want to make sure that we can talk about the Brush Mural Festival, but could you explain to me what the Baltimore City Public Art Commission does? What is PAC?
So the PAC is responsible for maintaining the city's public art collection. So that obviously exists like in real life on the streets, but also the database of it. So not only do we know where, when, why all of these things have happened, but also like who to contact if something goes wrong, the maintenance plan for XYZ. And so all of those sort of like nuts and bolts. We're also responsible for evaluating gifts of public art that the city might be offered. And most importantly, we commission public artwork for the city. So that's based on sort of where capital projects are happening and the city's budget and stuff like that. But yeah, the whole sort of artistic selection process, where, what it is, things like that is all sort of up to the PAC.
I know there are several first-time members that are joining the PAC this term. Are you excited about a new kind of a fresh approach?
Definitely, yeah. I think to no one's fault, the pandemic really messed up the terms, and I joined the PAC last year, and the people that had been serving on it for much longer than they were supposed to. Just because of the pandemic and how slow things were moving, and how nobody was really coming to present to the PAC or anything like that. So things just really slowed down there. And again, to nobody's fault, I think, because they had been serving for so long, there, may have just been some tiredness in the PAC, and I think also perhaps an acceptance for how slow things were moving. So I'm definitely excited to have some new energy, some great ideas, some amazing people, on the PAC this year.
It seems like your lived experiences could really do a great job of shaping how you lead the commission. What kind of ethos are you bringing to the table?
So I think a lot of what this new commission is focused on is sort of building a little bit more flexibility into what we do, and building more equity in. So right now we are revising our guidelines, which is a very arduous process, but it also lets us look at those guidelines through a different lens and understand things like who is being left out of this unintentionally, what communities are not being seen unintentionally, and sort of removing as many barriers to communities receiving public art as we can.
So let's talk a little bit about the Brush Mural Festival. You're the co-executive director. What was the inspiration behind organizing the event back in 2022, and what's the thought process behind pairing mural artists, the pros and the rising stars?
So I co-founded Brush Mural Fest with Saba Hamidi, who I run it with now, and Jessica Langley. And we sort of had this idea that we wanted to build a hyper-local mural festival. We were a couple years into our careers applying to mural festivals like crazy. There's international ones, national ones, and they're sort of everywhere now. And we really wanted to take that sort of framework, but add that community-centered lens, right? So we work with artists who live or work in Baltimore City, so you have to be tied to the city somehow. And as opposed to, other mural festivals, again, the ones we were applying to and not getting accepted to. But those, I think, the sort of framework of those mural festivals is like, okay, let's get artists into the city, they'll do their thing, and now we'll have this great art, and we have, we can sort of piggyback on the following that these sort of big name artists have. And so we wanted to flip that and be like, look, there's room for everybody here. It's a city, it's literally made out of walls, right? Nobody has to be starving out here. So how do we make that tent Baltimore exclusive, but also as inclusive as possible, right? So You have to be tied to Baltimore, but we have two sort of levels you can participate at if accepted. So that's the professional artist level, which we don't necessarily define by numbers because that's really hard. I think the first year we tried to define it, it is like a professional muralist has 10 murals, and it's like that's not actually the metric, right? And so we realized that we could sort of suss out who is a professional and who is a rising star based on those sort of short answer questions. And how do you deal with a client? How do you deal with a timeline? How do you turn around something? How are you a communication? Things like that. And so sort of we've decided that really just like how you move defines whether you're a pro or a rising star. And typically a rising star has no murals in their portfolio, which we accept. Like most of our rising stars, this is their first mural that they're painting. And that's kind of the point. That's why that position was made and opened up. And I think it was all out of a need that the three of us had trying to build our businesses a couple years earlier. So it was really just out of our own experiences.
Yeah, it's super tough when the barrier to entry is that you need to be able to prove that you can do something. But if you're not given the chance to show that you can do it, it's like this weird chicken and egg thing.
Yeah.
So it seems like this festival isn't just, hey, we're this great opportunity to express yourself and to make our city look beautiful. It's really also about helping people to take that next step.
I think so. Yeah, it's definitely a catch-22. Most of us had to do murals for free or for exposure or for, you can't hear my air quotes, but they're there.
Mm-hmm.
Or do work for free just to get portfolio pieces in. And we really wanted to bridge that gap. We are firm believers that artists should be paid fairly, and we pay our artists pretty well.
Heck yeah, where do I sign up? What kind of success stories have you seen come out of the festival?
Yeah. So we have an alumni from the first year, Camilla Liao, and she was a rising star in 2023. And now this year we hired her to be our graphic designer, but also she's been on so many projects this year. And it's been really wonderful to see that evolution, to see her grow and know that we were part of it.
That's awesome to hear. And Brush Mural Fest is coming back again this year. Can you tell us more about the upcoming event?
Yes. So the murals will be going up on North Ave under the 83 underpass. So it's like the gateway to Station North. It's by Micah. There's no real address, so it's been kind of difficult to talk about. But the underpass, you'll figure it out. And then, so we're producing 6 new murals there. So we have 12 artists producing murals. They will begin painting on the 13th, and they will be painting until the 25th or 26th. And then our festival to unveil the murals, celebrate our artists. We have a DJ. DJ Blackstar is going to be joining us, and so very much block party vibes will be happening in Graffiti Alley on the 27th from 12 to 3 p.m.
So is the goal going forward to have brush in different locations throughout the city?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So the first year, we actually partnered with all the arts districts. So the first year, we produced 5 murals across the city. So they weren't, you couldn't like walk between them. And we realized that was sort of difficult when trying to celebrate the completion of all the murals. And then, so in 2024, we produced 10 murals at the convention center, and those were all side by side. And that was just experiencing being able to paint next to other muralists is wild. We never get that. We're always alone in the field, right? Like maybe you've hired your team or whatever, but it's never like co-creating in that space. And so we really we got amazing feedback from our artists. They called it Mural Camp, and they like loved it. And we brought snacks, and there was music, and it was just like a really beautiful community moment for those 2 weeks. And so we really tried to prioritize that again this year. And so now our 6 muralist teams get to experience that this year as well.
Yeah, definitely come out and support Brush Mural Fest.
Yeah.
It's coming up soon, but throughout the rest of the year, what's the best way to connect with you online? Where can people learn more about you? Tell us.
So you can follow me on Instagram at Jaz_Erenberg. My website is also just jazerenberg.com. And that's where you can talk to me about really cool projects you want to commission me for.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, also, I'm pretty much always out working, so you'll find me.
That sounds, yes, you're exactly right. If you stroll long enough, we'll find you.
You'll find me.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, can't wait to have you back soon.
Awesome.
Thanks so much to Jaz for joining the podcast, and thanks to you for listening. Remember, if you're a creative person with a story to share, reach out to me at srustin@promotioninarts.org to be featured on the podcast. And as always, when creatives thrive, we all rise.